Good afternoon or evening. My name is Rob Tierney, and this is our first video for Math 125 synchronous class of the summer semester 2023. This video is going to be helping you get through the material that we did on Tuesday night's class, and this will also be a reference for you to look at a later date if you need it for review for quizzes and tests and everything like that. So right now, I believe you will see that I have this announcements up, and I'm going to just check on one of the announcements just to make sure that we all understand what's happening here. There is a Google Meet code that you should be putting into your browser when you are joining the Google Meet. Number two, I have sent several different worksheets through in the announcements. There is not, it is not required that you print out the worksheets, but if you do, it would be helpful. There will always be worksheets printed out or set up for you. I did also include the idea that if you needed to if you wanted these worksheets in your hands, you could just let me know and I can print them up and leave them with securities for you to pick up. Okay, so on that note, we are away from the actual announcements page, and I'm going to show you the Pearson work that you should be working on as soon as it pops up here. There we go. Today, okay. So your first assignments are due next Monday. Everything is taking a little longer than I would like it to. And here it comes. Okay, so here is our list of assignments. You'll notice that each assignment should be due on a Monday. And based on that, you have an entire week to work on it. If it's assigned on a Tuesday, you have until Monday to do the work. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of questions that Pearson will be expecting you to be able to do. And when that comes up, we will get back to it. Okay, so I have here a document camera, and when I have the document camera, I can show you a document and you can read it and you can look at it, and then that'll help us with the math as we're going through this. This is the first page of the syllabus. We went over this last night. We also went over several other pages of the syllabus. Here's a page that's kind of important. It's talking about when things are being graded and how you're being graded. So you're going to be having 3 exams, 1, 2, 3, and the final. That comes out to be 55% of your grade. You're going to have discussion questions and assignments and quizzes. So you should be looking at that syllabus. It's in Canvas for you to see. This area here is part of the syllabus that would be most beneficial for you to be looking at. It's got each week, and it talks about what is happening during each week. We had our class on the 9th, and so everything is due on the 15th. So Monday, May 15th is the due date for all the material that it says right here, which means you owe me a discussion, syllabus agreement and technology plan, a discussion, a homework, and a quiz. Every time we assign something, the assignment, the syllabus tells you what we're working on that day, and everything that is being worked on that day will be due the following Monday. So this one will be due Monday the 22nd. So if you have any questions about how the syllabus works, let me know, and we'll go through that. But right now, I want to get into the math because this video is more about the math than about the talking through the ins and outs of all that. So here's a math paper that we started with in class yesterday, and I'd like to go over it. It's one of the attachments, and if you have a chance to look at the attachments there, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So here is the work that we're going to do for this particular group. It's called rounding. And I will make a point of noting to you later that once we get into the My Math Lab, it'll actually talk about the questions. So this worksheet should be helpful for you because it's going to tell you which questions you're actually working on. So I'm going to write down 2 answers to each of these questions. One of them will be right, one of them will not be right. And then we'll talk about what the right choice is. So for rounding something to the nearest 100,000, that means that we are rounding it to either 600,000 or 700,000. And the number that's in the 100,000s place is the 6, coming from this list of 6 numbers. The next number is a 5, then a 4, then a 9, then a 7, and then a 2. So the numbers that came from this large numeral are here on the side. So if I'm talking about 10,000s, I'm focusing on the 5. The 2 choices for the rounding to the nearest 10,000 are these. The 2 choices for rounding to the nearest 1,000 are these. The 2 choices for rounding to the nearest 100, and this one's a little tricky because of one thing, would be 900, or it would be let's round it to 1,000, rounding it up. Okay, rounding to the nearest 10, you're going to have your 654,970 and your 654,980, and then rounding to the nearest 1 was 654,972, 654,973. Okay, so what I've done here is talked about this is when you round it down, and this is when you round something up. When you round something down, you have the numbers after the number you're looking at of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you round something up, you would be rounding it up because the number after it is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So as we go through this list, if I'm rounding to the nearest 100,000 and the number I'm looking at is 6, the number after the 6 is a 5. And since the number after the 6 is a 5, that means we go with rounding it up. So my first answer has been rounded up. The next number, if I'm rounding to the nearest 10,000, as I focus on the 5, the number after the 5 is a 4. 4 says I round it down, so therefore my next answer is that. The next number is 1,000. I'm looking at the 4. The number after 4 is a 9, so I'm going to be rounding it up. This one is tricky because the number 9 is here, and if I rounded 900 up, it would round right to an even 1,000. So put a star by that one as a tricky one, but that one is going to be rounded up to 1,000. This last one is second to last one is 972. I'm focusing on the 7, and the number next to the 7 is a 2, so I don't round it at all. I leave it right where it is. And then the answers for the ones are only, there's nothing else you can do. You don't know what else is there. There's no other numbers after it. However, at some point, we will be fiddling in and adding decimals inside our number. And we'll be rounding it to those numbers as well. But right now, we just have those choices for rounding something to the nearest. Okay, you'll see that in questions 12 and 13 in the My Math. Okay, then we have some word problems, and those go with questions 5 through 9. This is a question that you might be doing addition, you might be doing subtraction, you might be doing multiplication, or you might be doing division. Okay, this case, it's 308 divided by the 14 magazines, and I believe that came out to be a nice even number. I don't have the answer, but let me check it out right here. So 308 divided by 14 comes out to be 308 divided by 14 comes out to, it's been one of those days, 22. Okay, so that's what we have there for our answer for this question. It's division. You'll have to read the questions and see how that all works out. We had a list of numbers from the other last night that talked a lot about the work we did. I'm going to step away and keep talking because I can grab the numbers that we have. Spot. Let's do that. All right, so I'm back here. I'll make some copies of these. Okay, so if you want to pause the video after I write down these numbers, you could feel free to, but I'm going to keep going. I added a list of numbers into this pile: 6, 22, 4, 15, 10, 8, 8, 7, 14, and 20. And I said we're going to find the following things. We're going to find the mean, the mode, the range, and the median. The definition of the word mean is called the average. And what we do is we add up all the numbers and divide by the number of scores. So we're going to add up all the numbers and divide by how many there are. The definition of the median is the number that's in the middle. The definition of the mode is the number that occurs the most. And the definition of the range is going to be the highest number minus the lowest number. So those are some good definitions to have as you go through there. So if I was going to put these numbers in order, because in order to find the middle number, I got to put them in ascending order. It would be 4, 6, then it would be 7, 8, 8, then it would be 10, then it would be 14, 15, I'm crossing numbers off as I go, 20, and 22. So these are the numbers I'm looking at, and I want to find the following things. The mean we'll talk about in a second. The median is found by finding the middle number. The middle number is actually the number that is not really even there, because we have 5 numbers on one side and 5 numbers on the other side. There is no middle number, but we would find the middle number by adding the 2 middle numbers together, hitting equals, and then dividing by 2. So the median turns out to be 9. The mode is the number that occurred more often than any other number, and that would be an 8. There are 2 8s. The range would be the highest number minus the lowest number, which turns out to be 18. The range does not necessarily have to be one of the numbers in the list. The mean would be found by adding up all the numbers, which adds up to 114, and dividing by 10, because there are in fact 10 numbers, which gives me 11.4. I'm going to move on to the next question. I added a few questions from our list here, and I added a standard time of 11:09 p.m. I added a military time of 22:04. I added a military time of 04:58. So when we're going to go from standard to military, we talk about something to do with the 12-hour day. The military time for the number for 2:33 a.m. is going to be 0233. Notice military time does not have any colon in the middle. It does not say a.m. or p.m. The answer for this one in military time is just to add 12 and drop the colon, because that is what's happening. It's 12 hours past noon. This number is less than noon, so I just leave it with a 0 in the front. Now, if I'm doing this from military time to standard time, I'm going to add the colon for sure, and then I'm going to add AM. This number is a 0 in the front, which means it's AM. If I subtract 12 from this, I get 1004. I'll add the colon in, and knowing that I had to subtract 12 hours, I am at the PM. I'm at the later time. All this work I will show you on the MyMathLab here as well, so you know how to organize your thoughts. Okay, I'm going to shift back over to MyMathLab, which I hope is up. Okay, good. Looks like it is. If I go down to question 5, you will see that question 5 looks a lot like these other word problems, and we talked about that. Question 6, word problems, all the way down to question 9. Going back to question 12, it says round to the nearest 10. Okay, question 13, another round to the nearest. All right, now, one of the things that you might see here at the bottom of the page, each question is there's some buttons down at the bottom called Get More Help, View an Example, Help Me Solve This. If you click on View an Example, it'll actually talk you through an example. In case you are lost, it'll talk you through and keep asking you questions until you continue so you understand. So that's a great tool to have. Help Me Solve This is the same kind of thing. You're going to add a few things and then you're going to check your answers as you go. Last one, Get More Help. Get More Help has two parts. You can click on the e-text. It'll send you right to the book. And if you click on Ask My Instructor, it'll send me, your instructor, an email with the exact question on it. So you don't have to retype anything or worry about how to format it. And then I will get an email and I can respond to you as needed so that you can get the math done on your own time outside of class. Okay. Going back to the bottom questions, I think it was 19 through. You'll notice 19 through is a military time question. 20 is another military time question. Okay. And the last question, 23, asks for the mean, mode, range, and median of a set of numbers. So I think I've covered all the bases for what was going to be on your homework, step by step and question by question. Now I'm back to your paper, another paper that I put out for the class, and we did do a quick little lesson on fractions. Fractions are a big part of the first test. Fractions are relatively frustrating for most students. Fractions is a place that a lot of students struggle. So I wanted to introduce it right away so we all know how this is going to go. So here goes. I'm going to write and you can pause and rewind when you need to. I'm going to change this to 20 over 1 because a fraction times a fraction, I need that. And I would multiply 3 times 20, but I'm going to change 20 to 4 times 5. Because I know that 20 is equal to 4 times 5. And the reason I'm changing it to 4 times 5 is that these 4's will cancel out, and I will be left with 15 over 1, which is just 15. Another way of looking at this is you're going to do 3 over 4 times 20 over 1. You're going to get 60 over 4, and then you can use your calculator to get the answer of 15. Okay? Number 21. Now, I'm not expecting mastery of any of this. This is just to remind people of what some of the things we did. When you divide, we use some words or a phrase called keep, change, flip. You might have heard that before. That means we keep the first fraction. We change our operation from division to multiplication. We flip the second fraction. This is a division question, so we're doing that. And that gives me an answer of the top of 63 and the bottom to be 16. Now, a teachable moment from last night was to change 63 over 16 into what we call a mixed number. And it turned out that 16 goes into 63 3 times. And 16 times 3 is 48, but I got to get to 63. So I add a 15 in there. Again, we are not checking for mastery here. We're just trying to see what you remember of these kinds of questions. I did do a question where I said, what if I had 8 2/5 and I wanted to change it to an improper fraction? That means I would do 5 times 8, which is 40, and 40 plus 2 is 42, and 42 over 5 would be going the other direction. So sometimes we go from improper to mixed number, sometimes we go from mixed number to improper, and those are skills that we need to see you do. Okay, the answers for 27 and 28 are pretty straightforward. We are going to be talking about something where we are dealing with something, a situation of common denominators. Okay, both of these denominators are the same, so the answer is just as easy as saying 7 over 9. I did 8 minus 1, I did 9 on the bottom. This one, it's going to be 4 plus 2 and keep the 15 on the bottom. This one needs to be simplified because 6 is the same as 3 times 2, and 15 is the same as 3 times 5. So if I cross off those 3's, I'll have a final answer of a simplified fraction of 2/5. Down at the bottom, we talked about what happens in 35 if I don't have a common denominator. So we decided that a good common denominator would be 30 for each of these two questions. I had to multiply this by 2 and 2, which gives me a 4. I had to multiply this by 3 and 3, which gives me a 9. And I put a plus in the middle, and the answer comes out to be 13 over 30. All right, that should be good for our video as we move forward. There will be videos put out every week. Please look for them. And good luck working on your homework assignments, quiz assignments, and other things.